Here's a great exercise, and I'm going to dial up a little bit more gain just to, well, no, I'll leave it. You dampen everything with your right hand. I'm going to talk a lot about this later on, but just trust me. You dampen that. I'll teach you later on. So let's say you're going to work on the second string. This enables you to see your scales in a linear sense, and it also enables you to get your sustain with just your left hand. You're going to start the note with the hammer on. So I'll do exactly what I just did. I've got A minor pentatonic going up to second string. So I hammer, bend, release, and then pull to the next lowest note. And you could put a vibrato on that. So everything that I'm doing is left hand. And the real kick is the pull-off. That's where you can kick the line, get it going, get a little more vibe. Then I'll go. You can see, you could actually just do it without bending to set your pitches. You see, I'm just going up and down one string. That's a great technique. You can do it on the third string, you can do it on the first string, although those minor third bends are a little shaky on the first string. I'm not a big fan of doing those on the first string. You snap a string quite easily, and the tone's a little thin. So you would transfer it over and work primarily on the second and third strings when you're doing these minor third bends. Okay? That's just something I wanted to show you. All right, now we're going to continue a little bit more with bends. We said that what you do as far as your bends and things really are what you're emulating the human voice. Think about the different options that you have. Now that was a pre-bend. Once you're comfortable bending up and you know what it feels like. Notice I didn't say you know what it sounds like, you know what it feels like. Goes back to tactile sense. When you're a musician, your most important sense are your ears, your sense of hearing. Your second most important sense would be your sense of touch. You've got to know what that feels like on that guitar. Remember I told you how different guitars would throw you for a loop on that. Because if you do a pre-bend, if you're out of tune, hey, that's it. You know, you got to be on the money. All right, so a pre-bend. Practice playing up to the note that you know is in tune, and you could have your reference pitch. Stop the string and think about what it feels like. Okay, look at your hand, and then make sure you didn't let it slip while you were sitting there holding it. That'll build up the strength in your hand. So those are pre-bends. You want to incorporate those in your playing. And I didn't discuss this. I kind of demonstrated on that exercise, but there's a little compound move here that's so common. Let's say you do a bend. You release, and then you disassemble that fingering while the note's sustaining. Place your index finger on the next lowest note in the pentatonic. Execute your pull-off. Then you have to roll to get your vibrato. And this is where a camera angle like this would be beneficial. I'll talk you through it. Let's set up for the bend. We're going to just do D to E, third string. You bend up. You let it sustain. You come down. While the note's sustaining, you open up. Now don't get too upright on your first finger because your first finger's function when you do a pull-off, it has to dampen the next highest string. So you can't be... See how I didn't have that blocked? My index finger was too upright. So you want to... But then you roll somewhat over on the corner because your fulcrum's in the wrong place to try and do a vibrato. It's kind of pinched feeling. Then you're free to do your vibrato however you choose. If you want to loosen your grip, do that. Whatever. Now it's not bad when it's a major second interval right there. 3 frets. 3 adjacent frets. If you're on a bigger stretch, those minor third bends, you have to open up a little bit more. Open up. See how I've got this diagonal posture? Pull off, and then you have to roll some more. And when you do that, there's a slight motion with your wrist to your left. Because you have to open your hand up. So you want... Okay, basic moves, compound, put it together. Pre-bend. You see? Get these elements together, then you can combine them for more complex licks. I want to close this segment by going back to vibrato. I mentioned before that your vibrato involved 2 different approaches. Your relaxed string vibrato, where you played the note dry, in tune. And by the way, if you can't hear it or feel it, I suggest practicing in front of a mirror, and you can see that the string is equidistant between its 2 adjacent strings. That way you know you're not accidentally pulling it over to the side. But keep your ears open, have a reference pitch. Relaxed string vibrato, you played the note dry, you bent it sharp, and then you relaxed it. Each oscillation you come back to that note. The opposite is true with a bent string vibrato. You bend up to the note, and you flat it, then you go back up. So it's actually truly a controlled bend and release. It is not a shake. I hear that and I just cringe, man. I know it sounds harsh, but you know, guys haven't taken the time to analyze what they need to do and what they could do just by taking a little bit of time. So you want to control again the speed and the width of a bent string vibrato. Okay? Now there's a lot you could do with the right hand. I was going to cover right hand in depth a little bit later on, but I want to talk about staccato. When you're in a bend, you're obligated to use right hand staccato, which means you simply put the pick back against the string. You see how, remember the exercise went, now I'm just putting in those chromatic embellishments. Well, if I can hit the G, which is the flat 7, the G sharp, which is the 7, and the A, which is the root, then I can get all kind of ideas with just this target and this lower neighbor. I played the G staccato, I pre-bend a half step, and then bend up and apply a vibrato up there. Now, you ought to take and write down every possibility. I could go up, you see this little Hawaiian sound. You got to be careful there, but you see how you have these options, and this is critical for places like between the 4 and the 5. Get the flat 5 from your blues scale. We'll cover that later on. And a lot of great places where you have these half-step moves. And you actually also have some microtone moves with the flat 3 and again the 4 to the 5. It's all these microtones. It's not like a piano where you're just stuck with half-step intervals. All right. So that's right hand staccato, and then you can also do the marcato, which is very, very short and choppy. Experiment with this and just see what you can come up with. And everything we've done up to this point was basically walking, which meant we dealt with adjacent notes in the pentatonic scale. The next segment I'm going to give you will really open up your mind as far as a rut buster. It'll keep you from walking, and you'll get a lot of great ideas.